Chapter 3. The Poverty of Thought, Breaking Free from the Walls Within. Life has a mysterious way of teaching us its deepest lessons, not through comfort, but through collapse. The year 2017 was that kind of year for me, a year that broke my heart open and reshaped my understanding of pain, purpose, and the unseen laws that govern the spirit. It began with a phone call that no mother ever wants to receive. The accident. It was an ordinary morning. I remember in the sunlight on the window, the quiet hum of my daily routine, and then the sound of my phone, sharp and insistent, like it was cutting through reality. When I answered, the voice on the other end was trembling. "Your son has been in the motorcycle accident." Time froze. Everything inside me shattered and then condensed into one primal instinct to get to him, to hold him, to make it stop. I can't recall how I got to the hospital. It felt like driving through a fog where the world had lost all meaning except for that one person fighting for breath. When I saw him lying there, bandaged and broken, my heart felt like it had stopped beating. Machines surrounded him, cold, sterile things keeping him alive. My mind screamed 1,000 prayers, half in tears, half in silence. Every memory of his childhood flashed before me. The day he took his first steps, his first laugh, his first fall, and now here he was, unconscious, caught between life and death. I wanted to trade places with him. I wanted to take every wound, every fracture, every pain, but all I could do was look at him, whisper his name, and beg God not to take him. The hours became days, the days became nights without sleep. I remember sitting by his bedside, feeling the weight of guilt pressing down on me. Was I too busy chasing my own dreams? Did I fail to protect him? The mind of the mother never stops searching for blame, even when none exists. The move to Elk Grove. That same year, we moved to Elk Grove. It wasn't an easy decision. I was torn between the pull of family and the whisper of something new, a place where I could rebuild, where the silence could help me heal. Elk Grove was peaceful, lined with trees and calm streets, a city that felt like it was still breathing in the rhythm with the earth. Yet, peace doesn't come easily to a restless soul. I carry guilt with me like an invisible suitcase. Every time I unpack boxes in my new home, I unpack emotions too: fear, uncertainty, regret. I would walk through the quiet neighborhoods and wonder if I had done the right thing. My body was in Elk Grove, but my heart was still back there in San Jose at the hospital, sitting beside my son. Change is often disguised as guilt, but it comes to us as a question: do I deserve peace when those I love are suffering? There were mornings I woke up and couldn't recognize myself. I had left behind familiar places, people, and routines, and suddenly the silence of Elk Grove became a mirror. It showed me not what I had, but what I lacked within. I began to realize that the greatest poverty is not the money or opportunity, but a thought, those small, silent beliefs that whisper you are not enough. From pain to purpose. Sometimes it takes a near-death experience, not of the body but the soul, to awaken us. My son's accident was that awakening. It forced me to confront the fragile line between control and surrender. I couldn't save him, but I could love him. I couldn't change the past, but I could transform the future. But something inside me also began to awaken. Watching him fight for life reminded me that every moment is sacred, that survival is not just physical, it's spiritual. He was teaching me, even in his pain, about resilience and grace. The poverty of thought. You cannot live richly while thinking poorly of yourself. The sentence became a revelation, a truth that unfolded slowly, painfully, like a seed cracking open in the soil. Every belief of limitation builds a wall around your dreams, and for years, without knowing it, I have been building walls. I had learned to think in terms of survival, not abundance. Grown up in the culture where humility often meant self-denial, I was taught to put others first, to shrink my desires, to avoid being too proud. While there is beauty in humility, there is also danger in misunderstanding it. When humility turns into self-neglect, it becomes poison to the soul. In those early days in Elgro, I started to see how much of my life had been shaped by invisible beliefs. I'm not worthy of ease. I must work harder to prove myself. If I'm happy, I'm selfish. Each of these was a brick in the wall of mental poverty. The poverty of thought doesn't come from lack of intelligence. It comes from lack of self-compassion. It comes from years of conditioning that teaches us to doubt our worth. We grow up believing that wealth is about money, when in truth, wealth begins in the mind. The moment we think small, we live small. I used to believe that thinking big was arrogance. But one evening, walking alone by the quiet lake near my home in Elgro, I looked at the reflection of the sunset on the water and realized something profound. The sky never apologizes for being vast. The sun never feels guilty for shining. Why would we apologize for wanting to live fully? Breaking the walls. Healing is not about forgetting the past, it's about transforming it. My son's accident taught me fragility. The move taught me solitude, but both became teachers in the classroom of the soul. Through meditation, journaling, and prayer, I began to listen to the quiet voice within, the one that had been buried under guilt and fear. At first, it was faint. It said things like, "You are safe now." Then it grew stronger. "You are allowed to start again." I started planting small gardens in my backyard, letting nature speak to me. Every sprout that broke through the soil reminded me that growth begins in the darkness. The soil doesn't question whether it's worthy of spring, it simply yields to the light. That was my lesson, to yield to the light. I begin replacing old thoughts with new affirmations, not mere words, but truths that resonated in the spirit. I am not defined by my pain. I deserve to be at peace. My dreams are not a betrayal of my family. They are my legacy to them. It wasn't easy. Some days the guilt returned like a storm. I would see my son's scars and feel the ache of that night all over again. But healing is not linear, it spirals. It comes back to test your strength, and each time you learn to stand a little taller. The paradox of guilt and growth. Guilt has two faces. One face keeps you humble, the other keeps you chained. When I first moved to Elk Grove, I carried the wrong kind. I believed that to love myself was to abandon my family, that to dream was to be selfish. But I later saw that self-love is not selfishness, it is stewardship. If your mind is impoverished, what can you truly give to others? I remember one afternoon sitting by my son at the park after his recovery. His laughter filled the air, light and unburdened. He looked at me and said, "Mom, don't worry so much. I'm fine. You need to leave too." That sentence broke something open in me. He had suffered, yet he had found peace. Meanwhile, I, who had been spared, was still punishing myself for invisible chains. I realized that my pain was no longer serving love, it was serving fear. When I allow guilt to linger beyond its lessons, it becomes a form of pride, a way of saying we know better than grace, and grace was trying to teach me to let go. Elk Grove, a place of inner renewal. Elk Grove slowly became my sanctuary, the quiet ponds, the whisper of wind through the trees, the sound of children playing in distant parks, all became part of my healing symphony. Each day I walked a little further in spirit. I began to explore not just the city, but myself. I found local farmers markets, hidden trails, and coffee shops filled with laughter and art. For the first time, I felt what it meant to belong to a place not because of who was there, but because of who I was becoming there. I learned to listen to birds, to silence, to my own breathing, and somewhere in that stillness, the voice of poverty faded, replaced by abundance. Abundance is not about what you own, it's about what you believe. It's waking up and realizing that your thoughts are the architects of your destiny. I used to think that a meaningful life required external success. Now I see that true success is internal harmony. The moment when your thoughts align with your soul's truth. You cannot live richly while thinking poorly of yourself. That truth became my compass. Every night I caught myself thinking, I'm too old to dream, or I don't deserve more. I remember the hospital room, the move, the loneliness, and how every painful moment was actually a gift wrapped in disguise. Those events broke the shell of who I thought I was, so the real me could emerge. To think poorly of oneself is to betray the Creator's masterpiece. Each of us was born with infinite potential, but we bury it under self-doubt. We say, who am I to dream so big? When the real question is, who am I not to? As I begin to change my thoughts, my life changed in ways I couldn't explain. New opportunities appear, my writing deepened. People began to resonate my words, not because they were perfect, but because they were real. I realized that authenticity is the purest form of wealth. When you live richly in thought, you see beauty even in pain. You understand that every scar tells a story of survival. You stop competing with others and start collaborating with life itself. From pain to purpose, sometimes it takes near-death experience, not of the body, but the soul, to awaken us. My son's accident was that awakening. It forced me to confront the fragile line between control and surrender. I couldn't save him, but I could love him. I couldn't change the past, but I could transform the future. The move to Elgro was a second awakening. It reminded me that environment matters, not just the physical one, but the mental one we live in every day. If we surround ourselves with thoughts of limitation, we live in an inner slum, no matter how beautiful our home may be. Breaking the poverty of thought meant refusing to let fear dictate your worth. It means standing before the mirror and say, I'm enough, not because I have achieved, but because I exist. I realized that my dreams were not competing with my duties, they were completing them. My sons didn't need a mother who was always strong. They needed a mother who was real, who could fall and rise again. Because when they saw me healing, they learned that healing was possible. The freedom beyond guilt. There is a strange peace that comes after deep pain. It's not the peace of forgetting, it's the peace of understanding. One evening, I sat on the porch in Elgro, watching the sky turn shades of gold and lavender. The air was cool, the world calm. I closed my eyes and whispered a prayer, not for asking, but of gratitude. Thank, I say softly, for breaking me open. Because of being broken, I had found space for light to enter. The walls I had built with fear and guilt had collapsed, and through the cracks, the dreams were blooming. That night, I finally forgave myself for not being perfect, for not knowing everything, for being human. And that was the moment I became truly rich. Reflection, the wealth of the mind. To this day, whenever I face challenge, I return to that lesson. Poverty begins in the mind, and so does abundance. You cannot pour love into others if your cup is empty. You cannot inspire children to dream if you are haunted by self-doubt. The richest inheritance we can leave our families is not money, it's mindset. Elgro became more than a city, it became a symbol of renewal. My son's recovery became more than survival, it became a testament to resilience. And my own transformation became a reminder that life's hardest chapters often hide the seeds of our greatest breakthroughs. Epilogue. The mind as the garden. Today, when I walk through my garden, I think of thoughts as seeds. Some are weeds, doubt, guilt, fear, and if left unchecked, they will choke the flowers. If I plant love, gratitude, and faith, my inner world blossoms. The mind, like the earth, gives back exactly what we sow. So I keep tending to it day by day, watering it with kindness, pruning away old beliefs, letting the sunlight of truth reach every hidden corner. I have learned that to think richly is not arrogance, it's reverence. It's saying yes to the divine within, yes to the possibility that you are more than your mistakes, more than your pain, more than your past. As long as I continue to think abundantly, I will continue to live abundantly, no matter where I am, no matter what I face, because wealth is not something we fight, it's something we remember. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy it. Tune in for chapter 4. Please don't forget to click like or subscribe to my channel.